Hi guys, welcome back. On my last video, I asked you all to come up with some names that I thought would be good for me to address you with. And I got some great ideas. Somebody said Cullen Crusaders, and although that's cute, I think it was a little bit too much on the tongue. And then there was another one I really liked by Brian. I think he goes by B.T. Wilkes. And his was, he said that I should be using my name for my channel in my name that I address you guys with. And like the Misfit one was watercolor, she's watercolor misfit, so she calls her viewers the Misfits. And then he was saying Mind of Watercolors, he calls them Minders, maybe? I can't remember what he calls them, but something with the mind. And so Brian said to me, he said, if you put S-H-A and then C-U-L-L together, you get Shackle. And then he put A-T-E on the end, chocolat, for chocolate. And he said, we can be your chocolates. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of cool. And then it clicked to me, I have a username that I use on different websites. I know on Twitter I'm Spondle Artist, and then there's another one where I'm Shark Artist. And so I thought about that, S-H-A-R with a capital S-H-A-R, capital C for shark, and then I put artist afterward. And that's my username on a lot of websites. And I thought, you know what? I can call you guys the Sharks. And then for my vlogs, I can call them Shark Bites. And tell me what you think of that. If you think that's a cool name, then I'm going to go ahead and call you guys my Sharks or my Shark Artists. So anyway, tell me what you think about that. Now on to the video. Today I wanted to talk, since the weather's starting to change, we're in some areas, you guys are probably already getting into spring, and in my area we keep flipping back and forth from spring to winter to spring to winter, and it's been that way all winter. We've had a very mild winter. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about urban sketching and about plein air painting. And I thought today I was going to go over some books, but I think I'm going to save some of these books that are by the urban sketching group handbooks. And they're great to carry in your bag if you're working on something like ones on understanding perspective, reportage and documentary drawing, and then architecture and cityscapes and stuff like that. Well, I picked up the architecture and cityscapes one, and there was some information right in the front of the book that is really basic. And I thought, you know what, before I get into those books and review those, I want to go over some of these things with you. And one thing that I think everybody should have in their kit, no matter whether you're just starting out or if you're a seasoned artist and have been doing this for many years, well, there's a couple things, but the one thing I wanted to talk to you about today is something called a view catcher, and it's gray. It looks like this. Now, I keep mine on a ring, and I put one of these clips on it, and I can clip it to either my bag or my plein air box or whatever, and it goes with me everywhere. And the nice thing about these is they do more than one thing. They're always gray. They look like this dull gray, but there's a reason for that. And and one of these days I'm going to have a video on value as well. But what this is middle gray. This is mid-range gray, and there's a hole in the center of it here. And when I'm having trouble deciding the value of a color that I'm looking at, I can hold it up and just look through it and see, oh, that tree out there outside my window is almost exactly the same value as this gray. If I put them together, they're pretty much the same, except for some that are in shadow. So I would know that when I'm mixing my paint, I should keep the value around this color. You can go darker and lighter. Now, I had, and I don't know where it is, a strip that I had made with paint strips. I went to the store, Home Depot, and I picked up some paint chip samples, you know, the little things, and I got grays. And I tried to stick with either all warm gray or all cool gray. I think I stuck with cool gray. And then I put them in a line from 0 to 10, or 1 to 10, 1 being white, 10 being black, and then every value of gray in between. And then you have your middle range at 5. And this is what your middle range gray should look like. And it helps you in deciding when you're out looking at a landscape or looking at a building or whatever it is that you're drawing and trying to figure out the value of that color. The other thing that this thing is good for is setting up your design, your composition, and preparing yourself for everything that's going to be in a painting so that you don't run off your page. Somebody had asked me many months ago, how do you know in those books when I was doing urban sketching, she said, how do you know how big to make things so that they're not too big and run off the page or whatever? Well, this is a huge help. Now this thing has little markings on it that you're not going to be able to see. Let me turn my light up a little bit. You're probably not going to be able to see them. If I can catch them on an angle, there you go. You can see little markings right there. Let me see if I can get it to, I don't know if I can get it to focus, but you see there's a couple right here. There's one right here, then there's one right below it, then there's one right over here. And then on this side, you'll see that there are a couple more. There's one over here, and there's one over here, and they're in different places, little different heights. But the thing about these is each one of them has a dimension on it. This says 11 by 14. Then on this side I have 9 by 12, and above it I have 8 by 12. And then on this side I have 12 by 16 and 8 by 10. So when I'm looking at something and I say, okay, well, I'm working in my 9 by 12 book today. Let me just grab my 9 by 12 book. I'll just grab this one, my Moleskine, I think this is. No, this is my field book. So if I'm working in my 9 by 12 book today, and that's the page I'm going to fill, then I'm going to take my viewfinder when I've found a pretty scene that I want to paint, and I think I know what my focal point's going to be. The one thing that draws you in, there's going to be one object that draws you into that scene, whether it be, let's say you're going to draw a beautiful old church with a beautiful steeple on it or something. And the thing that attracts you is the steeple, or the thing that attracts you is the beautiful archway in the front entry, the doorway. You can paint just that. You don't have to paint the whole building. Focus in on what you like, or see what else you might like to add to it. So what I'll do is then I'll pull this little thing down to the 9 by 12 mark. It's a little wet because I cleaned it off. I had paint all over it. So I pull it down to the 9 by 12 mark. It's meeting up right with it. Now I've got to decide, am I going to paint in portrait or am I going to paint in landscape? Well, if I'm doing a landscape, I want to paint in landscape. So normally I have this taken off. This thing stays hooked to my bag and I just take this off. So I decide I want to paint in landscape. You're going to hold this portion of it, line it up to your 9 by 12 spot, and then hold it up to whatever it is you want to paint. Now you're going to zoom way in, which would be bringing your arm out, zooming in. Right now I'm zooming in on a cabinet behind the camera. And I look through it and decide, okay, now I've got that object in my sight, and I'm going to slowly bring it in. Slowly, 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 slowly. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow more landscape into that little hole. And I'm going to keep bringing it in and think, and get to all the way in and think, okay, that's way too much. So I'm going to zoom it back out and find my focal point again, and then I'm going to start to bring it in. And the minute there's something that's going to be distracting from my focal point, that's the point where you're going to want to stop. You don't want to add distraction into your painting. You want everybody to zoom in on that focal point. So, okay, now I've got this old oil pastel in front of me. The first one I ever did, it was of a chewed up apple core. It's just an apple core sitting on a table. And I'm going to, I've got it in my sights. And now when I bring it back, Up, there's another painting in the way. And up, there's a bag, a sketch bag in the way, hanging on the side of the cabinet. So I'm going to zoom it back out and get rid of that sketch bag and get rid of that other painting. And I'm just going to focus in on that apple core. And now I've got what I like. And I can see what I want around the apple core or whatever and decide what my composition is going to be. That is what you'll use this for. You also then can put it on your paper. I'm going to turn my back to you and see if I can get this. I'm going to have this sitting out like on my easel, and I'm going to bring this back all the way until my paper is completely in focus. Just like my apple core was. I have the entire paper in focus right up to my face because I'm so close to it. Then I can decide how much do I want that apple core to take up on that page. And do I want any of the superfluous stuff around it? Yeah, I want a little bit of that. So I'm going to have to maybe make my apple core larger for this page. And to do that, I just hold this where I want it, and I can see how much of the page it's going to take up. Do you see what I'm saying? So these are great, handy little tools. And also I advise those of you, especially those of you who are new to drawing and sketching, to do something called thumbnail sketches first. And I will go over what thumbnail sketches are in my next video. And that will also help you with your sketching. So as the weather changes and things start to get nicer outside and we want to venture out to do some sketching out and about, either from your car or in a restaurant or when you're sitting at lunch in the cafeteria at work or whatever the case may be, you can still use one of these to figure out what you're going to draw, get it all set up, make sure it's going to fit on your page, and then go from there. So that's how you can decide how big to make something so that the entire thing fits onto the page and you don't run off. I hope this helped. You can get these at art stores. You can pick them up on Amazon. They have them everywhere. It's just called the View Catcher, C-A-T-H-E-R, and they're handy. And this thing with the hole in it is great so that you can see the gray on the inside as you're looking at something. And now I'm looking at a black object and I say, whoa, that's a lot darker than this gray. And I know how to make my value correct. So these are great little tools. So get one and keep it with you. Put a ring on it and get a clip so that it will always hang from your bag, whatever you're using. And that way you'll be sure to use it and not lose it. Okay, everybody, have a great day. Remember, be courageous, paint with wild abandon, and most of all, be kind to each other. God bless. Bye-bye.